Well, hey everybody, here we are. It is time for Cultivating Watercolor Confidence, May 2024 edition. I'm Jill, your host. Thank you for joining me. I'm coming to you live from Yellowstone Park. In fact, I have like a little live picture. This is just right outside my window where I'm recording. And thankfully, the good folks here in Yellowstone, one of the vendors where my husband is working with them, they agreed to let me use their office space and their internet and all of those wonderful things so that I could come to you live from Yellowstone. If you've been to Yellowstone before, you know that there is no internet. I mean, if you're in some of the visitor centers, you can kind of get a little bit of a signal, but here we are, and I'm so glad to be with you and joining you. So come on in, everybody, come in, get comfortable, give me a comment. Let me see that you're there, and tell us where you're from, all those good things. I love to hear what's going on. Oh my goodness, I've got Canada, I've got Australia, I've got Minnesota, California, Wisconsin. Who else have I got in here? I'm not going to go through the whole list. There's more coming on in. So come on in, join me. So let's just do a couple of things right here at the top of the broadcast, a few little housekeeping things. So if you've joined me with this for this training before, we did do the live sessions over in Facebook. Facebook has changed some rules and it doesn't let me stream with my software over there anymore, so we're doing the video here on YouTube. So thank you for joining me. And if you've joined me before for a training, this is evergreen content, and the things that we're going to be covering are, the subject matter is still the same, but it's going to have its own dynamic, its own sort of vibe, if you will, because this content it's beneficial for every artist, no matter where you are in your journey and no matter how many times you've heard it. Okay, so really, really good stuff. So I'm glad that you're here joining me, and we will have brand new demos this time. So anytime I do the training, brand new demos that we'll be doing. So welcome everybody, come on in, come on in. So I've got a lot of new faces here, a lot of familiar faces. So if you are new in my painting community, my name is Jill, and I have been a professional artist for many, many years, and also a watercolor instructor for a lot of years as well. And probably one of the strangest things that I do is that my husband and I live and work full-time on the road, and that's why we're in Yellowstone. We are here for the summer. We spent last summer here as well, and it's just gorgeous, as you can imagine. So we feel very blessed to get to be in some beautiful places, seeing beautiful things, getting to do the things that we enjoy doing, and I'm very excited to share some things with you today too. So let's see, I had a little video that I wanted to share with you. So we are in Yellowstone, and yesterday when we first got here, we got here, the weather was great, and then a snowstorm came, like right after we got our campsite set up and everything. I'll show you a quick little clip on that. It was gorgeous. It was absolutely beautiful, and you can imagine we were a little bit surprised, but sometimes, especially out west, Wyoming, Montana, it can just decide to get 20 degrees and have a snowstorm. It just does that. So that's kind of what happened when we got here last week. It has started to warm up, and we've been enjoying it. And in fact, I had a great little video to share with you. You guys are being patient with me, showing off my Yellowstone, my little Yellowstone adventures that I've had so far. We got to see some beautiful buffalo. Show you a little clip here.
Gosh, that's so incredible. They could strike at any moment.
It totally could.
Don't make me want that.
So as you can imagine, it was a little harrowing, they're off at a distance and they don't seem like they're that big, but when they get right next to you, they're pretty big. And thankfully those, even though they made some eye contact with us, they sort of just kept going. So we've already started having so many adventures, seeing so much wildlife since we've been here. It's been absolutely gorgeous. So, but I won't belabor the Yellowstone point any further. We're going to go ahead and jump into our content here. So hopefully many of you have had time to get in and get onto the broadcast. As we're going, I want you to know that this information that I want to share with you is stuff that you just don't learn in art school. It's not things that you get taught. It's just sort of those things that you get, if you just learn it the hard way as you go along. And so the things that I want to share over the next week are things that I have learned over the last 30 years that have helped me really produce a thriving and productive painting practice that, like I said, nobody tells you these things. And so if you're struggling with this idea of confidence in your work and in your abilities and in your processes and in your any of your creative endeavors and your painting efforts that you've been making so far, this is exactly what I'm hoping is going to just rejuvenate you and give you some new excitement, new enthusiasm, and also just let you know that there are so many things that you can change about your creative process to make it thrive and grow. And so we're going to get into it. Okay. So let's, you should have your workbook with you. Okay. And as we're going, if you have questions, definitely post those in the little chat. I will get to those, go over those, as we go through, and especially at the end. And if you're seeing this on replay, you can also post questions over in the Facebook group. That is an active group, an active area where we're going to share and post pictures and share our work and all those kinds of things. Okay, so just letting you know that. So let's just, I'm starting on my front page here, first page 1 of the workbook, and we'll go through this. So, confidence, we want to talk about, what it is, where does it come from, why is it important, and how do we get it? Okay, these are all very important things that I have seen over my time, not only as an artist, but as an art instructor. People struggle with confidence, and it's this feeling of just these ideas, these feelings that you get that your work is not good enough. You don't really know how to get it to the level that you want it to be. You sometimes even start on a painting and you get overwhelmed by just the blank white surface, and you just kind of feel like you don't know what to do next. And if you're characterized by sort of hitting those roadblocks from time to time, it can get really frustrating. And if you're getting frustrated with your work and knowing that in your heart there are things that you want to be creating, but you just can't quite get them out, and you get frustrated with that. That is everything that we're going to be talking about this week. Okay, being able to sit down and confidently produce the work that you want to produce, that's where we want to get to, and that's what we're going to talk about all week. All right, so let's break down this whole idea of confidence right here on day 1. So what is it? Okay, confidence is this belief, this prevailing belief, okay, that we have, that we should have, that my actions are going to lead to desired outcomes. Okay, you can think about it this way, when we sit down and start doing a painting, and when we don't feel confident about it, we're just unsure, we're uncertain, we're feeling all these feelings of fear about failure and all these kinds of things. That doesn't really feel super, super confident. But let's figure out how to get there. That confidence that we want to have, it's definitely an internal thing, and its strength is definitely linked to our mindsets and our actions. So if we think about this, why is it important for us to be confident as artists? If we know these battles that we have when we sit down to do our work, and we feel frustrated, we feel disconnected, we feel like we're just uncertain, fearful, all those different things. A lot of that will sometimes come from the fact that maybe we've not painted a lot, maybe we're early along in our journey. Maybe we start having some feelings like that after we've painted for a while, but we feel like we're just not quite growing. We just can't seem to get better at what we're doing. And we know that inside there's something that we really want to be doing. We just can't seem to get it out. It really is important for us to start looking at our mindsets and the things that we do. Okay, all of those things underpin the ability to be confident in the work that we do. Okay, So, if confidence, if we have this, it's going to be important for us because confidence is what allows us to be bold. That's what allows us to take risks. Okay, if you think about it, having that big blank white sheet, and if you feel fearful, wouldn't it feel better to just feel bold and ready to take a risk? Just, hey, let's see what happens. I'm gonna jump into this. And if we're being bold and we're taking risks, we want to be able to do that without the fear of failure, without feeling like, if it doesn't turn out the way we want, that doesn't mean failure in the sense that, we're no good, we can't do this anymore. It just means that we maybe just didn't hit our mark that day, but we still keep going, okay? When babies are learning to walk, they fall down a lot, but never does it occur to any of us that we should, have the child stop learning to walk because they fell down. They are going to jump back up and they're going to get right back in there and do it again. Okay, it's super, super important. And as we are bold, as we take risks, as we find ourselves not afraid of failure, that's where we're going to find our artistic ability, and it's also where we're going to find our unique artistic voice. Okay, everybody's got one, just like a signature. It's completely unique to you, and unless you're spending a lot of time really digging in and finding out what is going to come out of you, it's going to take all of that time and process for us to figure out exactly what that unique artistic voice is going to look like. Okay, and if you think about it, imagine in your own life, think about your own circumstances. How many of us have maybe not gotten as far along in our journey as we hoped, as we wanted, just because we're afraid of messing up that paper or messing up that canvas, whatever the case may be. Okay, I know we all have these experiences. I get it. I totally, totally get it. So, if we're looking at confidence, and we definitely want to add this into our lives, we know that we need this. Well, how the heck do I get it? Okay, well, it's going to come, okay, from practice, and it's rooted in preparation. Okay, if we don't spend time working on our craft, honing our skills, honing our craft, figuring out what it is we're actually able to do, that's going to be a long time in coming before we find out exactly what we're capable of. And as we get more comfortable with exploring what we can do and what we like and all these different things, that's where that confidence really starts to build, and we start becoming more and more confident and less afraid. Okay, if if you think about it, there's got to be like a proper alignment, between the things that you think and the things that you do. We can sit in our homes and think, well, I need to go, I don't know, I need to go fold that laundry. But if we just continue to sit there and not go actually fold the laundry, it doesn't get done. So it's the knowing what's got to happen and then actually getting up and putting forth the effort to make that thing happen. And the same is true in our art processes. And we so often get hung up in not being able to, or thinking that we can't just start making art, beautiful art, right out of the gate, without any mistakes or without any exploration. And then we get afraid to make art because we think we're supposed to just do it perfectly the first time. How many of you identify with that? I know that I spent a lot of years early in my artistic journey feeling like I can't make it look as nice as I want, so I kind of just would find myself not even making art because it was easier to just avoid it. Okay, does that sound familiar? Does anybody have any experience with that? I'm pretty sure that you do. So, all the successful artists that I have talked to, they've learned to think the right things, do the right things, and every time that happens, they're going to grow. They're going to start to operate with that confidence. Okay, and it is important for us to learn how to sort of prime ourselves to have confidence. it's not a natural thing. We really have to practice it, okay? So let's talk about some creative alignment issues. And what I mean by creative alignment is, you know, my creative process is directly linked to the mindsets that I have. And if I've got a lot of negative mindsets sort of, underpinning my creative process, it's going to weaken my process and make it really difficult for me to do things. It's going to make it difficult for me to advance, to try out new things, to develop my skills, to hone my craft, all of those things. So negativity is a really, it's a big killer, in terms of our artistic process. And I want to look at, 4 creative alignment issues. There are probably more, but I think these are the 4 that I see often in other artists and in art students, and we all kind of struggle with these, from time to time. But certainly, okay, if you're characterized by these things, let's look at ways to kind of handle this stuff. So the first one is just negativity all by itself, just negativity. This is when you want to give up, you feel anxious, you feel discouraged, you feel angry, whatever the case may be. You know how it feels when you kind of get into a negative spell. And if you're negative, it's hard to let beautiful things come out or meaningful things come out when you're kind of struggling with a lot of negativity. The second one that I see often with artists and students is self-deprecation. I see this so much in my teaching experience, and of all ages, except maybe elementary kids. They don't do this to themselves, but as we get older, we learn all these we learn all these weird things that aren't really helpful for us, and we get the idea that things are supposed to be a certain way or whatever, and and we'll develop self-loathing, poor self-esteem, poor self-trust, not only in ourselves but in our work. Okay, if you ever thought about that, of just being angry with your work or being angry with yourself because you didn't make the artwork that you wanted to or that you hoped that you would. It's a predicament, and it's one that's very unhealthy and leads to a lot of, setting aside art and not actually getting any of it done because we're so in our heads, with how we're not good enough or, those types of things. Let me hear from you on that if any of that sounds familiar to you. I've got just a quick little story that I want to share with you just on this idea of self-deprecation. Self-deprecation was a huge, huge stumbling block in my own artistic career that thankfully I have resolved many years ago. But I will tell you that I would be very negative. I would say mean things to myself. I would say mean things to my art that I was making. I would be mean. It was really terrible. And I don't think I even really realized it. I thought I was just trying to motivate myself or, whatever get myself primed to do a better job, that type of thing. And one day I was at my easel. I was actually working on an acrylic painting at the time, and I was kind of along in my art career. I was actually doing a commission at this time, and I was working on a certain passage in the painting, and I got so frustrated because the brushwork was just, it was not working. I just got kind of stumped, and I couldn't figure out how to proceed, how to really get through this passage and make this section of the painting look like I wanted it to. And I remember I got so frustrated and so angry, and I said mean things to myself, and about not being good and what was wrong with me, and then I said some mean things about my painting. It's like, this stupid painting and these stupid brush marks. Why can't you just paint like you're supposed to? And I had this moment of clarity. It was like a divine download, if you've ever experienced that, where I just heard in my heart, this voice telling me, don't say mean things to yourself, and don't say mean things about your work. That work that's inside you that is trying so hard to come out, don't be mean to it. And I remember it hit me. It kind of just brought me to my knees at the time. And I was able to see for the first time how unhealthy that was, how mean I had been being to myself, and the hateful things that I would say about myself and about my work. And I had not even realized it, and it became so clear to me that I had been doing that, and instantly from that moment I never did that again. Now, doesn't mean that I might not have gotten frustrated, but I was kind to myself. I was kind to my work and allowing it to evolve and to come out of me. And since doing that, I've had so much more success in allowing new things, expressive things, meaningful things to come out of me, whatever it is that's needing to come out. It has a much freer path to make its way out without me standing there sort of at the gate, barking like a mad dog, right? It makes a big difference. So some of you may know, somebody says, that's me. It's true. We need to be kind to ourselves. The creative gift inside each of us is trying so hard to be birthed. It is trying so hard to come out. And we need to be as kind and as helpful and as encouraging and as encouraging as we can be to make sure that that is coming out. Okay, we want to make sure we're doing that for ourselves. A third alignment issue in our creativity, in terms of mindset, is unworthiness. Okay, these feelings, ideas of unworthiness. If we're experiencing that, we'll think things. We'll have conditional self-love, or we'll withhold from ourselves. That's just kind of some examples of what that can look like. It's different for everybody, I'm sure, but sometimes comparisons, come into play a lot. We'll be working really hard at honing our skill, and then we look at somebody else's work who is much farther down the road than we are creatively and artistically, and we'll think, we'll kind of get deflated and think, I'm not worthy. Why am I even trying? All those kinds of negative things like that. Those are things that are going to, again, really hinder our creative process, and we want to make sure that we figure out ways to get rid of those. And then the fourth one is perfectionism. Okay, I know everybody knows about perfectionism. We have all experienced that, and that's just that whole idea of that everything's got to be perfect, and we kind of get kind of tense about things. But really, some of the byproducts of that are that we procrastinate, we don't get anything done, we don't grow, we don't get any better, because we're just stuck, we're just stifled and just sort of stagnant, if you will. So those are the top four that I see over and over. And if you identify with any of those, definitely drop it in the comments. Let me hear from you, because I know that I see these things all the time, not just with students, but with working artists as well. We kind of deal with these things a lot. So if we're dealing with these things, if we're constantly kind of handling this stuff, one question, that we might have is like, well, where did all this come from? Okay, where do these mindsets come from? Because they're pretty heavy, they're pretty invasive, they take up a lot of mental real estate in our minds and prevent us from doing a lot of other wonderful things that we should actually be doing. And, I'm not a psychologist, but we've all read enough to know that just our these things have been cultivated over time, as a result of external forces or experiences, relationships that we've had, the way we were parented, just on and on. Okay, all types of things where we just pick these things up along the way. But if we're really wanting the very best that our creative selves can pour out, we need to help that process by making sure we kind of get rid of some of this stuff, that we that we clear the way so that confidence can reign supreme instead of all these other ugly things that are so damaging and unhealthy. And so it's true that none of these mindsets are going to cultivate confidence, and they're not going to lead to any kind of desired outcome. Okay, it doesn't matter how long you may have been dealing with something, I think that all of us could agree that, if we're negative and, having all these, perfectionist tendencies or whatever the case may be, none of them produce desired results. None of them produce something of value, something positive. They always hinder in some way. All right. So let's flip this page and get on to what are some solutions. Okay, so what do I do? What am I supposed to do with all of this? Okay, so the first thing that we want to realize is that we can renew our thinking through practice and repetition. Okay, now that might sound simple, but here's another simple truth. If we're struggling with all kinds of negativity, it's because we've practiced and thought our way into it. Okay, we weren't born that way. We've had a lot of opportunities and experiences to practice being negative and to think about being negative. And if you practice something and you think about it enough, you get good at it. Okay, so the principle applies both ways. So if we think and act our way into something, well, we can think and act our way out of it as well. Okay, and I put some information down here just about neuroplasticity. It's a real thing. Okay, our brains work this way. We get these grooved, wired patterns in our brains about the way that we think and what our paradigms are and what our activities are. And they come from repetition just over and over. And it's hard to kind of undo that, but it can be undone. Okay, I'll give you a perfect example on a different scale. Let's say that you are cleaning house and you decide that the place in your house where you've been storing toilet paper is not really handy. You're going to move it to, you're going to move it from closet A to closet B, because closet B is that's really where the toilet paper should have been all along. And so you're going to move it. Okay, imagine you've moved all this toilet paper. Probably for the next 3, 4, 5 times you go to closet A to get toilet paper, you're going to go, okay, I moved the toilet paper. I keep forgetting. And then you just practice that new pathway enough times, and then you just automatically start going to closet B to get the toilet paper without taking a detour to closet A. Okay, we all do this. Well, if when the year changes, you still keep writing, 2023 on your check or whatever the case may be, it takes you a while to undo that thing you've been doing. But if you notice, the way to undo the thing you've been doing is to do a new thing, and it replaces the old thing that you were doing. And that's what neuroplasticity is all about. And it's totally for real. I encourage you to research it, look it up, and find out some stuff about it. It's very encouraging to me, because if I'm in a habit of being self-deprecating, like I was, then I know that I can practice encouraging myself instead. And it takes a little time, just like how you keep running back to closet A for the toilet paper and you have to go, oh yeah, I forgot, it's in closet B. I would begin to self-deprecate, and I would have to go, oh wait, okay, yeah, I'm not doing that anymore. I'm going to encourage myself. And so it took a few times of replacing that behavior that it just became my normal way of being. And we can do that with all the different thought processes and mindsets that we have going on in our lives. And does this mean, well, I can't pursue my creativity until I get all of my negative thoughts and emotions out of the way? No, that's not what I'm saying. It's really going to happen in tandem, with you staying committed to your creative process, because you doing the work and changing your mindsets about the work that you're doing, they're going to happen together. Okay, they need to happen together. And as you do this, as you begin to start rewiring your mind and getting rid of all the negativity that you have, you're going to start to see confidence rise to the surface, and fear go down. Okay, confidence go up, and it's going to change everything about the way you start to create everything, and you're going to love it. All right, so let's look at I've got a list here of, like, unhealthy mindsets versus helpful mindsets, and maybe some new actions that you could take. I won't go through and read all of this, but just, for example, on negativity, don't just, if you're conditioned over time to just kind of always see the negative side, allow yourself to realize it, stop yourself and say, wait, there's got to be something good here. And, a new activity or a new action that you could take is to explore a new idea, try something new that you haven't tried, look for something that's there, because I can promise you, it will be there. There's something there. If you're alive and breathing, you can find something good. I promise you. Okay. So be thinking about that, of ways that maybe you've got an unhealthy mindset, and if you're aware of it, think about stopping yourself when you start to lean into that and go, wait a minute, what would be the better way? What would be the better response for this? And I promise you, it's going to have a huge impact, not just in your life, but a massive impact in your creative process and your artistic process. You just will not believe how suppressed our artistry is when we have got a lot of unhealthy stuff going on. Okay, so tomorrow we're going to, we've been talking about everything that's like sort of some internal things. Okay, tomorrow we're going to look at some things that we can do physically on the outside. Okay, and that's super fun. And you have a homework assignment for tonight. Okay, it's not huge, it's just mostly one you can kind of do in your head, and you might want to take some notes or write some things down. But I want you to list some unhealthy things that you might be doing that you kind of know that they're there. Write these things down. If anything is making you, if there's anything that creates resistance, it's making you feel discontent, it's making you feel negative, it makes you feel bitter, frustrated, resentful, angry, just all these yucky things. Okay, whatever is there, think about what those are. I want you to write them down, and this is very personal and very honest. Nobody's going to see this. This is just for you. Okay, I want you to feel free to journal about it. Maybe you might think that it's important to consider where these things came from. Are there things that you could do in your external life, and your internal life to change the environment so that you're not feeling these things? Okay, it's a lot to unpack when you really start to think about it, and it's not going to just get solved, just instantly in a night. But I do want you to just kind of sit down and think about it in those terms, and knowing that, these things are inhibiting your creative growth in ways that you really don't quite imagine yet. Okay. And if you'll look down sort of at the bottom of the page down here, I've got a 30-day roadmap objective. I didn't really mention this at the top of the hour, but on day 4, you're going to get, you're going to be creating for yourself a 30-day roadmap, so that at the end of our week-long training, you're going to have a completely mapped out guide of what you're supposed to be doing for yourself creatively and artistically for the next 30 days. I mean, that's fantastic. You'll be able to just wake up, and you won't think, okay, what am I supposed to do today? No, it's going to be on your 30-day roadmap. Okay, we're going to be creating one of those. So, work with these mindsets, because mindset work is one of the things that's going to show up again on your 30-day roadmap. And so it's going to come from what you sort of think about over the, especially tonight and over the week, as these things sort of come out and come open in your mind. As you think about these things, you're going to be working on these things alongside developing your artistic skills. Okay, and you're just not going to believe how incredibly freeing and uplifting and confidence inspiring it is to shed some of these things, because they're totally inhibiting, your creative process, the gift that is within you. There's a lid there, and what we want to try to do over the course of the week is make sure that you start figuring out ways to get rid of this lid and know exactly how to proceed into turning your creative life into this brand new practice that you've never even thought was possible. Okay, it's going to be fantastic. So we've talked a lot about, a lot of things that are going on internally. They're there. There's these things that we deal with, and they're like these little seeds that are in our minds, and if they're planted in there, they're going to grow. And so we really want good things to grow. Okay, if we want to think about this whole series, if you'll notice going through the workbook, I'm using cultivation and harvesting and planting seeds, and all of that is kind of a theme, but it's really, really true. If we plant seeds of negativity and self-deprecation and perfectionism and all this kind of stuff, not only in our lives, it makes everything, it causes us to have a lot of challenges just in our personal lives, but also in our artistic lives as well. So we're going to be talking about getting the soil ready tomorrow. We're going to be talking about how to really cultivate this soil so that we're planting good seeds, and talk about all of the really awesome things that we can physically do out loud in the live world, okay, that are going to start to change the way that you make art. Okay, it's going to be fantastic. I want to start looking over just to see if I have any questions or even comments. So I know that this is a watercolor training, but what I want you to understand in this, we're going to dig deep into some really personal and mental, emotional types of things, because if those things are absolutely 100% connected to our artistic process. Okay, so we're like going underground and getting things tended and getting things lined up, so that when we're coming to the surface and we're bursting out in a creative way, that we're coming out healthy, that we're coming out strong, that we're coming out knowing exactly where we're going. All of those things are what work together to give us that true confident feeling in the work that we do. And it's going to be amazing over the course of the week. Tomorrow is always my favorite day. It's the eyes start opening, the ideas start flashing, everybody starts getting some totally new ideas about how they want to start working. So awesome. Let me see if I've got any questions from anybody as we get through. I've got just a comment here from Elizabeth. Let's see. Elizabeth says, years of practice, starting to recognize the alignment issues, working on best self-talk to move past these mindsets. Absolutely. It's 100% true. When we're dealing with these things, if you think that the way that you treat yourself and the way that you think about things and think about yourself, all of this, it shows up when we start making our artwork. If you've made art long enough, that these things start to show up. So that's what we want to do. We want to deal with these things so that we're freely making the best work that we possibly can. Someone said it's hard to do anything well, and I think maybe that might have been a commentary or a comment earlier of things that maybe that you those things that you say to yourself when you're feeling unworthy or that type of thing. And there is some truth in not being able to do things well if you haven't learned how yet, but that doesn't mean that it's wrong or that there is somehow that there's some kind of failure there. It's really part of the process, and that's a mindset shift that has to start happening as well. See, I got another. Let's see. Oh yeah, Diane. Thanks for asking, Diane. Hoping that she can attend all the live lessons. Will they be about an hour? Yes, that is my goal. Is that they will be about an hour each, especially when we start working on our painting days. And depending on how many questions we have too. So we haven't gone quite as long tonight as we normally would. But if you've got questions, definitely put them up there. I know that not everybody can make the live. That just happens sometimes, and that's totally okay. There will be replay links coming out to you in the video, and obviously you won't get to comment on YouTube, but definitely post your questions in the Facebook group so that we can talk about these things. So for tonight, I want you to make sure that you're thinking about these things, thinking about these mindsets that you might be dealing with, And like I said, they're personal. You do not have to share these things, okay? So be honest with yourself. Get in there and just kind of write it down, journal about it if you want to. And then tomorrow, come back prepared, fresh, ready to go, because I'm going to have some really encouraging things to talk to you about in terms of just rearranging your life, your public spaces, your artistic spaces, while we're working on rearranging the mental internal things. We can also start rearranging the external, in real life, 3D things. And oftentimes, when we start doing both of those things together, magical things happen. It starts to really move the process a lot faster, a lot quicker, and I can't wait to see. I can't wait to see that you get excited. Tomorrow's got a lot of fun, and you get to really put your hands to work and get things moving and feeling like you're really moving in a direction. So, I think that's all I have for you guys tonight. Thank you so much for joining me. Again, if you've got any questions, just put them in the Facebook group. And that's all I've got for you tonight. I want to encourage you. Thank you for joining me. I know that this is different from any watercolor class that you might have taken, but I think these things are super, super important. And we're definitely going to be painting this week too. So I will see you guys back here at 6:30 Mountain Time tomorrow, and I will talk to you then. Thanks so much, guys. Bye.